Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you another movie review. This time we're going to be talking about Morgan. I got the DVD copy right here, and I really wish I would have bought the Blu-ray because, I'll be honest, I really adored this movie. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. It definitely should have gotten more credit than it did, but we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. I really like the cover, by the way. Which is why I used it for the thumbnail. But yeah, so this movie is directed by Luke Scott. It was produced by Ridley Scott, who of course is involved, with the Alien franchise, Blade Runner, and quite a few other films over the years, of course. But this is a movie. It stars Kate Mara. It is a movie, yes. But yeah, it stars Kate Mara as well as Anya Taylor-Joy as Morgan herself, and let me tell you, Anya Taylor-Joy, she's becoming quite the figure, in these movies, because she's building herself quite the rap sheet, with her credibility in films lately. I mean, you got The Witch, you got Morgan, she was just in the really successful Split that's still in theaters right now, which I need to go see. And, I read, how she's, really into, the horror genre now. Although this movie isn't a complete horror type of thing, you could argue that, parts of The Witch and, of course, Split are in certain ways. But I'll talk more about that when I do videos on those films down the road. And I've been really interested in getting into her work. And Morgan was my first choice of one of her movies to watch. And like I said, I really liked it. I enjoyed it even more than I thought I would. I've been gambling lately. I've been buying a lot of movies before I've watched them. But at the same time, I know my taste, and I wasn't disappointed. I'm glad I bought this. Like I said, I wish I would have gotten a Blu-ray copy. Just because of how much I liked it. But, the story in this one, it's a little bit familiar. We've seen movies, like Ex Machina, which I still need to see myself, but I know the basis of it, so I can see where people would compare it and with the similarities and stuff. Then you got movies like Species and The Machine with the actress from Arrow and Toby Stevens, which I'm still interested in seeing. And just there have been quite a few movies over the years that have covered artificial intelligence, AI, different things like that. So I'm not going to say that this is a completely original story because it's really not. But I think it was executed fairly well, or at least the way it was built. It had the bones to be a successful one of its genre, I think. It did have its flaws. I especially was a little bit disappointed by the ending, and that was something I was a little bit worried about going into it. But before we get to that, I'll just tell you a little bit about what the story is. I'll read you the back of it because, again, it's just better than me trying to put everything into words. But yeah, so look at the cover as I read. From Oscar-nominated producer Ridley Scott and director Luke Scott comes this visceral, edge-of-your-seat thriller with an all-star cast starring Kate Mara, Paul Giamatti, Toby Jones, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Rose Leslie. Inside a remote top-secret lab, scientists are working on an experiment that is leading the way for the next steps in human evolution. When the experiment's subject, genetically designed human, Anya Taylor-Joy, triggers a terrifying event, those involved must decide if the promise of infinite potential outweighs the incalculable danger. And, so there's your story there. And so a lot of it is Kate Mara's character, who I'll bring up now. She is brought in supposedly to to study Morgan and to look into her behavior, and she gives a fine performance in this movie. She I'm not saying she's a bad actress. She's certainly better than that whole Fan Four Stick thing she was involved in, I'll say. But she does come across a bit bland and dull in this movie, and there is kind of a reason for that. Due to who or what she really is. And I'm not really spoiling anything because there's spoilers in the title, so you were already warned. But I thought she was okay in the movie, but she definitely wasn't the selling point at all. But she was brought in to study Morgan, And then he also had Paul Giamatti, who is a fairly well-known actor. He's also like another guy who was brought in supposedly to study her, although not along the same lines as Kate Mara's character, as we find out later. But he was pretty good. He's only in like one or two scenes, but I thought he was pretty good. His whole interview with Morgan basically turns into an interrogation, and really he just set her off. And I felt like a lot of characters are doing that in the movie. Just the way they talk to her is just really disrespectful and not really caring. And I think a lot of the characters in this movie are responsible for Morgan going off the rails at certain times. I also did like Toby Jones quite a bit. He was he's in Captain America: The First Avenger, and he's done tons of other stuff. He was probably the most sympathetic character to Morgan in this movie, because as soon as we, the whole group at the base was a little bit more sympathetic to Morgan because they basically raised her. But he, along with the Amy character, who I'll talk about in a second, he was definitely the most caring about it, I think. And as soon as Kate Mara gets there, she's referring to Morgan as it, but they're actually referring to Morgan as her, like identifying her as a person in a way, which kind of shows the difference there of how they look at her. But I like Toby Jones. And then you also had Rose Leslie, who is played by, Rose Leslie, who played Amy in the movie. She's sort of like the behavioral, studying, specifically that about her. She had, traveled with Morgan out in the woods back when she was still allowed outside. So arguably Amy might actually have the most attachment to her. Rose Leslie, she is also known for playing Ygritte on Game of Thrones, and she delivers a pretty good performance here too, I think. And I really liked the scenes we got to when Morgan was allowed to walk around outside in the woods and stuff. The scene with the deer and everything. I thought that was very good. And let me just talk about Anya Taylor-Joy again, because this actress, she was just great, excellent in this movie. I really loved her work, what she did in this. And I'll admit, I was really behind Morgan in this movie. I was rooting for her all the way, by far, right up until the end. She is definitely the character I latched onto in this movie. I didn't care about Kate Mara. I like some of the other characters, but I was definitely on Morgan's side the whole time. Anya Taylor-Joy just did such a good job, just making Morgan feel very stoic, but appropriately so. But at the same time, she had this subtle vulnerability and sort of emotional layer to her that I really, really loved in her performance. And she really helped bring this AI to life and make her feel like a person, which she could have very well been had things been handled differently, I think. And like I said, it brings me back to the flashbacks of her being outside, which I thought were very effective. Her scene with the deer, her sort of having to mercy kill it, I thought was very effective. And I liked her connection with Amy. I liked Amy Leslie Jones's character a lot more than Kate Mara's character in the movie, to be completely honest. So I almost wish the movie would have revolved around them at the end a little bit more directly. But we'll talk about the ending in a few more minutes here. And a little break from the pictures there. But this movie is also a little bit mismarketed, at least with the trailers, because a lot of the trailers had put it off, had made it come off as some almost like a horror movie. And there are more horror elements in the movie, especially in the last half, or when it gets closer to the 50-minute hour mark or so. But I'd say it's really kind of more of a thriller. I classify it as a sci-fi thriller, almost drama type of thing. Just the way the trailers put off is it almost made the whole thing look like it was a straight up horror movie, and it's not at all. And the first 45-50 minutes are different than the rest of the movie, because that is sort of spent with studying Morgan's character, which I actually really appreciated. And some people are kind of divided on that. Some people wanted it to be a straight up horror movie. Some people actually prefer the slower character study that the first half of the movie had. And there's the point where it tries to transition, and it is a little bit jumpy when it does sort of shift the tone into the last half of it. But I found the first half to be a little bit better. I found it to be a little bit more interesting, just because it focused on the character part of it a little bit more. But when shit did start going down, when shit did really hit the fan and wouldn't stop, I found it pretty intense, and we basically found out that Kate Mara is there to, eliminate, eliminate anything when she feels like it's gone in the wrong direction and such. We'll talk more about what's revealed about Kate Mara's character in a couple of minutes, but I thought when all that was going down, it was pretty intense. The fight scenes with Morgan and Kate Mara's character, I thought were okay. Some of the choreography did look nice, just how they were so even with each other, but Morgan had a constant edge over. I thought some of the moves were pretty good. Anya Taylor, it still looked like Anya Taylor-Joy was doing most of it. I don't know if that was the case or not, but there were quite a few cuts in those fight scenes though, and it was a little bit jarring at times. Some people might have had a hard time seeing what was exactly being done, but I still liked it. I thought it was fine. And then I liked how Morgan had taken Amy out into the woods again, near the lake and such. And there's a very good scene when she's standing on the dock, and she's just wondering, she's asking Amy if this is what heaven looks like. Again, just very great acting from Anya Taylor-Joy here. And again, I really felt for Morgan's character more than anyone. So I liked that they sort of brought that part of the story full circle. And if Morgan was going to die in the movie, I almost wish Amy would have been the one to put her down or something. That would have been more fitting than what actually ended up happening to her. Because you see, Morgan gets the best over Kate Mara, and she impales Kate Mara on this fallen tree. But of course, Kate Mara survives, and then she drowns Morgan. And I thought that was a little bit anticlimactic. And then she shoots Amy in the head, shoots the other guy who was there trying to help her, who's going to be in Logan coming up, by the way. Forgot to upload a picture of him, but and it turns out that this is like a test for Kate Mara, who's also an artificial AI, except an earlier version that they feel like they can control or have a little more focused on the objective, whereas Morgan, she is becoming a little bit too emotional, a little bit too unstable for what they wanted. She was almost becoming too much for them in a way, whereas whatever version Kate Mara is, she's a little bit more mission focused and such. And so they try to make it about Kate Mara at the end, and I didn't really like that. Like I said, I would prefer it if it just ended with Amy and Morgan somehow, or if maybe Morgan, when she impaled Kate Mara on the tree, maybe she could have snapped her neck like she did the deer. Even though maybe Morgan didn't think Kate Mara deserved that mercy at the end, I don't know. Because she easily could have killed her there, whether she was AI or not. But I would have preferred that than maybe Morgan disappearing into society, and then have the movie end with them still looking for her or something. I think the ending should have been more about Morgan. I didn't really like how she's just killed in the end. That didn't really work for me. Neither did the Kate Mara twist, really. It sort of made sense, but I just didn't really like how they dealt with Morgan in the end. I think she should have survived and have it end like I thought. But yeah, overall, I still really, really enjoyed Morgan. I was really surprised by how excellent Anya Taylor-Joy was in the movie. She went above and beyond my expectations. I really can't wait to see more of her work. And the rest of the performances were fine, especially from Toby Jones and Paul Giamatti, and as well as Rose Leslie for sure. Kate Mara was okay. But yeah, overall I did really enjoy it. I'm happy I bought it, and I'm sort of divided on what to rate this. I'm debating between like a B plus and A minus. It would be an A if it ended the way I had wanted. If they dealt with Morgan in a better way. It might be bumped up to an A minus A, but for now I'm going to have to... I know this is a bit of a cop-out to put it between two ratings, but I'm just not sure exactly which one yet. But I'm going to rate Morgan about a B plus or A minus. So yeah, overall I really did like it, and it's definitely one of my favorite movies I've seen in a while, along with 10 Cloverfield Lane, which you can go and watch my review for. I just would prefer the ending going a very different way. I was a bit disappointed by that. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought about the movie. I certainly think it deserved a lot more credit than it got. So if you guys enjoyed this video, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, like, subscribe. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.